Hi, y'all. This week we are going to be multiplying radicals. There will be 2 lessons. This first one is multiplying without variables. And on Wednesday's lesson, we'll be multiplying with variables. So to start with, we are going to do this tiny little review on top. We can only multiply radicals that have the same root. You'll also see that word as index. Index is the mathy word for it, but in class we've been saying root, like if it's a cube root, a fourth root, or a square root. However, when you're multiplying radicals, they do not need to have the same radicand. And if you remember, the radicand is the stuff under the radical. So let's look at a little example. So I have this right here, remember the product property of roots, and it has this general form. The nth root of A times the nth root of B equals the nth root of A times B. And this can go in either direction. When we're simplifying radicals, like if we were trying to simplify the cube root of 84, and we do a factor tree, and then we pull it out, we're going this direction when we're doing that. Today we're multiplying radicals, we'll be going this direction instead. And an example of 2 radicals that you actually can multiply would be the cube root of 4 times the cube root of 7. So their roots or indices are the same, but the stuff inside does not have to be the same. So if you were to multiply that, it would be the cube root of 3, and inside the radicand would be 4 times 7, or the cube root of 28, and then you would try to simplify that radical if you could. That's our goal for the day. An example of something you could not multiply would be the cube root of 4 times the square root of 7. Their roots are not the same. This one has a root of 3, and this one, we don't see a root there, but whenever that happens, we remember that the root is 2. And those roots have to be the same in order to multiply, and they're not, so you wouldn't be able to do that. So that's our goal for today. So here are your basic steps. When you multiply radicals, you do 3 things. You check that the roots are the same, and we talked about that in these 2 little examples on the right side. You multiply the numbers that are outside the radical, and you multiply the numbers inside the radical. And then you simplify the radical if possible. It might not always be possible. So something I want to tell you, I kind of combined our notes and practice problems today into just one sheet. So these first 3 problems going across here from left to right are all square roots, okay? I'm going to work 1 for you, and then you'll have time to work 2 and 3 by yourself after the video. All of these on the bottom are cube roots. I'm going to work this one for you, and then after the video, you can try 5 and 6 by yourself, and you can check your work and your answers with the PDF that I've included on the Google Classroom. So let's do the first video. 6 square roots of 2 times 3 square roots of 10. So step 1 is to check that the roots are the same. They are both square roots, so check, that works out. Step 2, multiply the numbers outside the radical. So that's 6 times 3. And multiply the numbers inside the radical. That's 2 times 10. So that gives me 18 times the square root of 20. And then step 3 is to simplify the radical if possible. So remember 20, so we're looking for square roots here, is 4 times 5. 4, the square root of 4 simplifies as 2, and we pull that out of the radical. And what do you do when you pull 2 out of the radical, but you still have that 18 out front? Well, you multiply them. And then we had 5 left over inside the radicand. So then 18 times 2, that is now outside. This gives me 36 rad 5, or 36 square roots of 5. Okay. If you'd like to pause the video now and try 2 and 3 by yourself, just copy it onto some scratch paper, or if you're able to print out the worksheet, that's fine too. You're welcome to pause now, or just keep watching me move on to the next group with the cube roots, whichever you like. So the steps are the same in this next one. Step 1 is to check that they have the same roots. So we look right here and right here. They are both cube roots, so that checks out. So step 1 checks. Step 2, multiply the numbers outside. That's -5 times -4, so that's a positive 20. Multiply the numbers inside. That's 4 times 6, which is 24. And now you try and simplify as possible. Now, what we're looking for here is groups of 3, or things that are a cube root. Now, if you're working ninja style, that would look like this. I know that 8 is a perfect cube, and 8 goes into 24 3 times. I know that the cube root of 8 is 2. So I would bring 2 out of the radical and multiply it by the 20. And I'd be left with the cube root of 3. And finally, I would have this. Okay, that's like the ninja method, if you can already recognize cube roots. Here's the factor tree method if you need to do it like that. That's no problem. You'll still get the right answer. It just might take you a little bit longer, but that ain't no thing. Actually, the factor tree method would start right here. You would do your little factor tree for 24. You might say, oh, okay, 24 is 2 times 12. 12 is 2 times 6. 6 is 2 times 3. And so then now I've got that over there. So then that would give me 20 outside the radical still, and then inside I would have 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. You would look for groups of 3 to pull out of the radical because it's a cube root. That would come out as just 1, 2. And then we'd be right where we were in the other problem. Okay, so go ahead and take some time, try the rest of the practice problems, and then go back to your Google Classroom and look at the PDF with the solutions to see how you did. And email me if you need any further help or questions or Zoom tutoring. All right, thank you guys.